Hello, Black America.
So No Limit Eddie just lays out his journey of how at 17 he starts to get involved, starts to think. When were you exposed to the Israelites? Was that at 17?
Yeah, like 17.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you start to see that they're talking about this exodus of leaving Babylon. Some people say it's spiritual, some people say it's actually a state. That gets your mind thinking, okay, at some point, all right, if I'm going to be leaving here anyway, let me start looking around and kind of let me not get too comfortable anywhere if I'm,
Right.
planning to leave here. You end up initially leaving LA, or did you leave Vegas to go to Tanzania, or did you leave
Okay.
LA?
So LA. I went to like apply for the apartments and all that, but I was commuting back and forth from LA to Vegas during that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you get out there, you've
Yeah.
left, just you you're in Tanzania by yourself. Your sister hadn't come yet.
No.
Okay. What is it like when you first hit the ground there? Matter of fact, take us through the building up, because I think what we're trying to do, Eddie, is we're trying to take us through everything that a person who puts their eye on Africa, the mental aspects, the social aspects. What was it? Anything in your mind that says this is not going to work? This is going to be a disaster. I'm gonna, what was it? Any mental turmoil, or were you just dead set? I'm going. It's going to be great. I'm not looking back. What was that like? Take us through that.
Yeah. Lots of roadblocks, lots of obstacles. A lot of this was brand new to me, right? So like I said, I hadn't even like really left more than 4 hours outside of LA. So I never booked a flight before. So I booked a flight to Tanzania. That's what my first and last name, like I normally do, but I have a middle name that I never use anywhere. Realized that, I can't even fly because I didn't put my middle name on there. So I had to return the ticket, lost a whole bunch of money on that, had to rebook it. I'm like, maybe this is a sign that I shouldn't go. I don't know. I'd have lost $300. So that was one obstacle there. Then, you accumulate stuff when you live in America. So it's like, okay, what am I going to do with all this stuff in my apartment? Am I going to sell it? Am I going to throw it away? Am I going to put it in storage?
Right.
Kind of have
Some people
those
would never go just because they're not getting rid of their stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a big thing. Like, you know what I mean? You kind of become attached to your possessions. And where man's treasures are, so is his heart. So essentially, like, you kind of can be attached to your stuff so much that you end up, staying in a particular area. So yeah. So that was going on. Of course, it was COVID, so it's like, man, I'm not taking no COVID test, I'm not taking no vaccine, so I'm trying to like maneuver through that. And so it was a couple of obstacles for sure, to kind of make that final play. Then you just have the doubts, overall, like, dang, what am I going to do? Is it really going to work out? I don't know, but I have faith that whatever I put my mind to is going to work. But it still is like a little bit in the back of your mind, like, oh, I don't know, Another obstacle I ran into was I ended up missing my layover flight. So ended up being stuck in Turkey for like 24 hours, having to rebuy a flight and all kind of stuff like that.
When you were on your way out there?
Yeah. So
some people would have turned back. They would have took that as a sign. This is a sign.
Yeah. So I flew from LA to Istanbul, Turkey, and Istanbul has the biggest airport in the world. So I didn't know that at the time, and the layover time was so short that I was just like sightseeing too much. I ended up missing my plane, so that kind of screwed me a little bit. So I ended up being stuck for 24 hours. But at the end of the day, we made it to Tanzania. The first few moments was like surreal, like, whoa, I'm really in Africa. Like, is this real? People run up to you, they're trying to scam you with the taxis. I got a taxi, trying to overcharge you. But it was a good experience overall on that first day.
So there's some things that don't change no matter where you are.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
When you set foot though on African soil for the first time, take us through what your mind was going through your mind at that time.
Yeah. Okay, so so some people be like, I touched the ground and I started crying. It was a right. That did not happen for me. At that point, man, I had been traveling for like 2 days straight. Gotcha. So I'm just like in like militant mode. Get me to my Airbnb so I can take a shower.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's really what it was at that point. Just being safe, making sure I had all my stuff with me. that I got my money out and just give me to the Airbnb. But that first ride there was quite interesting because it's so raw in Africa. So it was like 2 in the morning, maybe. So people on the side of the road selling chapati. You know what I mean? You see like shacks where people are like selling food out of. It's like, what's going on here? But it's intriguing, but also at the same time kind of like off-putting. When you're so used to everything being developed, everything kind of being flowing in a certain way coming from LA. So that's like my first take.
And that's what I guess when you've been to 4 African countries now so far.
Yeah, well, Egypt, Tanzania, Uganda, South Africa. Yeah.
Okay.
4.
So so if you're somebody's plotting, we want people watching, and they're already watching, but more people are going to keep watching and start to plan where they want to visit first, where they want to retire. They got their eyes on Africa. What are you using now that you've been to 4 countries? You from the time you came to where you are now, you've had a breadth of experience. What are you using now to determine where you're going to visit and where you're going to spend the majority of your time? Because I think based on what you use to basically narrow down your best choices, some of the people listening might use those same parameters. So what are you using to determine where you want to be at?
Okay, got you. So there's like different camps. So if you're looking to visit Africa, you can pretty much choose any country depending on what you're after, right? So some people want you to just be in a country that's surrounded by Black people, right? And if that's the case, then you can go to any East African nation, any West African nation, have a ball all the time. Now, if you're looking to move to a country, right, which is kind of like that next evolution, the most important thing is a visa. Because in America, we just live. We don't have to worry about licenses and all that type of stuff to live in a place. You just live, right? But the moment you leave America, you realize, okay, I'm an illegal alien now. Like I'm an immigrant now. And so you now have to put yourself into visas and residency permits and citizenship. Like there's so much of a rigmarole to like live in a place for a long period of time. And so when it comes to moving to a country, it doesn't matter about how beautiful it is. It doesn't matter about the language. It doesn't matter about the people. It matters about, are they going to give you a visa? That's one reason why I stay in Egypt so much, is because the visa laws are so easy for Americans to kind of to use. So yes, those countries are a lot harder to come by, as far as moving to it. But I think the Gambia is a good place to move to. Ghana is another good place. Egypt is a really good one. Those are the 3 that kind of make it easy for Americans to kind of settle in and reside for a while. And then as far as retirement, once you are retiring and you have, let's say, like pensions, most companies will open themselves up to you because, they know the U.S. is going to pay every month. And so they want that money to come in. They'll have usually some type of law where you have to like open a local bank account and then have your deposit kind of go there. But other than that, you're pretty much straight. So that's what I would say. Most countries open up. South Africa's open for that, for a retirement visa. For sure.
So that's something to take note of, because Eddie, when you just mentioned people who have pensions or retirement income, if you have investments, if you have cash flow independent of a place, you're not making your money specific. You can make your money from anywhere. Then this is the time where you want to look at where you want to be at. And I know, Eddie, we want to make sure we give you time later to talk about how you've been able to travel the way you have traveled. We'll get into that. But I want to make sure people know if you have basically cash flow, even a pension or Social Security, I mean, there's some incredible places that you can live right now. And I want to get into, I don't know how much time we have in this segment, but I want to get into some cost of living. Some cost, because some of the videos that caught my eye, and I think that have caught a lot of people's eye, Eddie, is when you make these cost of living videos where you show this is what you can get for $200 US a month. This is what you can get for $800 or $1,000 US a month. Why don't you take us through, from a cost of living standpoint? You're talking to somebody who's bringing in $60,000 US. It could be from investments. It could be from rental income. It could be from whatever the cash flow is coming from, Social Security. And now they're like, my quality of life here in the U.S. on 60K is not really what it used to be 20 years ago. They're looking for other places. What have you seen country-wise, cost of living being the best to the most expensive in your journeys?
Got you. Okay, perfect. So yes, when it comes to that, right, the first thing I'll mention too around those visas that I mentioned before, it works best if you do have like a government-based pension or a SSI or military retirement. Those work best. And then they're also kind of discriminatory when it comes to age. We gotta be like 35 and older. So most people who make this move generally are a little bit older. I'm kind of like an outcast in that sense, being 25 at this point. But when it comes to like cost of living, like you can live most places in Africa for like $1,000 a month, right? But that is kind of just getting by. Preferably, if you can make like $2,500 a month, like you can live very, very, very well in most of these places. So let's say, for example, Egypt is my preferred country as far as a home base, simply because it has great visa laws and the cost of living is incredibly good. So just to even give you a comparison between Egypt and where I am now in South Africa, this bottle of water will cost me like $1.20. It's like 1.5 liters. So it's maybe twice the size of a 16 ounce. It'll be like $1.20 in South Africa. In Egypt, that same bottle will be like 10 cents.
Wow.
So that's like, yeah, and insane cost of living in Egypt. So like you can get meals in Egypt for $1 and like a full meal and be like cool. So your cost of living is insane there. Now, other countries, let's say for example, Uganda, which is where I spend a lot of time as well, the cost of living is low technically, but you end up spending a lot of money because you don't want to live like a local. And people make that mistake of trying to live like a local, but you don't want to be showered out of a bucket. Like no, we have a
Right.
certain policy market we're used to, and we cannot just adjust to live like a local. And so even though the cost of living may be cheaper in certain countries, especially like the sub-Saharan African countries, you end up spending a lot more to get the creature comforts that we're used to, right? So you may go to a lot of places that they don't even have a hot water heater. So you're taking cold showers all the time, right? And so if you're a man, maybe you can deal with that, but your wife is not going to allow that.
I can't deal with it.
Yes, exactly.
Second cold
So that's
shower, it's already old for me. When is
right. It's already over. Now it is hot most of the time, so the cold shower is cool, but still, you gonna end up wanting to put in a hot water heater. So now you got to buy that, and you got to get it installed, and they're gonna rip you off because you speak English. You know what I mean? So you might spend more money. You know. So yeah, that's like the cost of living, man. $1,000 you can live pretty much anywhere, but you're gonna live basic. 2,500 you can live a nice life in most countries, a month.
Now we only have a minute or so left in this segment, but I mean, are you as a younger person now? Most people in America, you're looking to build for your future, whether towards retirement, sock some money away, whatever your mechanism, investments or what have you. Are you able to build towards your future while you were? One of your reasons I think you said for going, you kind of feel like you're on vacation all the time. If I'm not misquoting you there, so it sort of lends itself to. Yeah, we're a life of just kind of free, doing whatever you want. But are you able to like look towards a time where you might have a family, where you might want to retire and just, be still for a while? Are you able to build towards that kind of life?
Yeah. Okay, so there's multiple layers to this. So number one, I think cash flow is king. And so usually I try to use my cash to create more cash flow. Because in reality, if you just have cash sitting there, it's pretty much appreciating and you're losing value. And so any excess cash that I'm not using to invest in more cash flow, I put into treasuries. Right now you're getting like 4.6%, almost 5%. So you're kind of beating inflation doing that. That's where I put all my excess cash if I'm not investing it towards more cash flow. And then I'm always going to different countries to figure out where I might want to create a next home base. But it's so difficult to know, or it's so difficult right now to stay in a place long term because of my age. Um, so many places, like if you want to get a long-term visa, they do discriminate based on how old you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have, like you can have this a good amount of cash flow, but if you're not this age, they will not give you the visa. And so that's kind of the hard thing as far as now. But eventually I plan on definitely going to some African country, buying some land, but then kind of like kind of like having a homestead over there.
Okay. When we come back, I definitely want to we want to hear the what are the cons of a place like Egypt? Because for me, I literally look at the cost of living, I look at the heritage. I actually did a DNA test that shows that my fathers come from that region in Egypt before we were in West Africa. So my DNA test shows that my fathers are from ancient Egypt. I'm curious whether it be government, whether it be safety, whether it be food. What are the cons that if 10,000 black people were going to come there from America in the next year or two, what do they need to know, if anything?
Hello, Black America.